They said space was vast and empty, but the silence out here was never peaceful. It had a weight to it, heavy with the echoes of warnings long ignored. My name is Elias Voss, commander of the Terran warship Vindicator, and I was born into a galaxy that feared us. They never admitted it, of course. They called it diplomacy, called it containment, called it the Accord. But the reality was always simpler. No species entered human space, and those who did never came back. The galaxy labeled it myth, an exaggeration. Some claimed we were extinct, reduced to whispers in forgotten war archives. Others believed we'd retreated into our home system, paranoid and broken after the colonial collapse. But the smart ones, the old empires and the pirate kings, they knew better. They called it the dead zone. Not because it was lifeless, but because nothing came back alive. When the Zalteri vessel Veshkalen vanished, the Council acted surprised. They held emergency sessions, passed condemnations, released grainy footage of the ship's last transmission, static, distortion, a flicker of light that almost resembled a weapon signature. Then nothing. They called it a technical anomaly. But their eyes told the truth. They were terrified. So they sent us. Not as diplomats. Not to offer apologies or seek resolution. We were a signal. A reminder. The Vindicator wasn't the newest or fastest ship in the Terran fleet, but she was one of the last relics of the post-unification war era. A warship forged not for occupation or deterrence, but for vengeance. She moved like a predator through the dark, every hull panel thick with reinforced plating, every weapon designed to speak in absolutes. Reyna, my executive officer, stood at the helm as we breached the perimeter of Sector 17. Her fingers danced over the controls with practiced calm, but her jaw was tight. We both felt it, the pressure in the air, the warning in our bones. "This is it," she said quietly. "The edge of the line." Technically, we were already inside Accord-claimed space. But the stars didn't care about politics, and the old markers placed centuries ago were long gone, swallowed by the void. What mattered was what came next. We drifted past the shattered remains of a survey station, Terran markings, decades old. No signs of life. No distress signals. Just a gaping hole through its core. The damage was precise. Deliberate. A message carved in steel. "This wasn't done by aliens," Reyna muttered. "No," I said. "It was a purge. We wiped it to keep them out." As we approached the coordinates where Veshkalen vanished, our sensors picked up something impossible, a gravitational disturbance. Artificial. Controlled. Like a black hole had been caught mid-breath and told to wait. And inside it, shimmering against the curve of reality, was a shape. I leaned forward in my chair, heart hammering. We had crossed the line. And something was watching us from the other side. The shape pulsed faintly against the black, like a heartbeat made of starlight and shadow. At first glance, it looked like a collapsed satellite or an abandoned relay station, but the gravimetric readings told a different story. This thing wasn't orbiting anything. It wasn't drifting. It was fixed, suspended in a spatial anchor that shouldn't exist outside theoretical models. It was a gate, of some kind. A rift that obeyed no known physics. The same anomaly the Veshkalen had approached before it disappeared. Reyna stared at the readouts. "This isn't alien tech," she said. "These harmonics, this architecture, it's Terran." I already knew that. I'd seen it once in an old war archive, buried beneath security clearance levels so deep even whispering its name was considered treason. It was part of a class of Terran defense systems known only by code, Black Horizon. Weapons and constructs so advanced, so unpredictable, that they were sealed away after the Genesis War and never spoken of again. "Send a probe," I ordered. She launched a Class V scout drone, fitted with multi-layer quantum shielding. We watched as it slipped into the gravitational pull of the rift and vanished. 1 second it was transmitting telemetry, the next it was just gone. No explosion. No flash. Just absence. The void swallowed it like it had always belonged there. Then came the pulse. It didn't originate from our systems. It came from within the rift, low, deep, resonant. Not sound, but something deeper. A rhythm in the fabric of reality. Our implants picked it up first, triggering old neural firewalls we hadn't activated in years. The ship's AI paused for half a second, an eternity for an artificial mind, before speaking in a voice I hadn't heard since my academy days. Signal pattern matches known threat profile. Designation: Sentinel Red. Reyna went pale. That's not possible. That AI was decommissioned before we were born. No, I said slowly. It was buried. The console lit up with a message. Not text. Not language. A code sequence, burned into the ship's core memory from when it was first constructed. A failsafe, only to be triggered under one condition: confirmation of a Black Horizon asset going active. Identify. Origin. Purpose. Or be expunged. I leaned toward the mic, ignoring the dryness in my throat. Commander Elias Voss, Terran Naval Sovereignty. Clearance code Sigma 5 Echelon. Mission: Reconnaissance and Containment Enforcement per Exclusion Directive 001. There was silence for a long moment. Then the anomaly shifted. The stars twisted around it. The veil peeled back like curtains parting on a stage. And behind it, nestled in the heart of the impossible, was a city. Massive. Silent. Glowing with the faint light of energy reservoirs untouched for centuries. Spires like blades. Towers like launch cannons. Defensive rings coiled around its equator. A Terran city. Lost. Forgotten. Alive. The gate opened, and the past reached out to welcome us home. The docking clamps extended from the bastion before we even made visual contact with the hangar. The city's AI was not only aware of us, it had already recognized the Vindicator as one of its own. No hails. No codes exchanged. Just seamless authority, passed through layers of Terran command recognition so old they predated most of our current fleet's protocols. The docking bay doors parted like the jaws of a leviathan. Inside, the space was cathedral-like, vaulted ceilings of blackened steel, ribbed with supports glowing with dim red veins. Gravity adjusted automatically to match our own, compensating for the crew's movements as we stepped off the ramp. Every sound echoed, but not with emptiness, with purpose, like the walls were listening. Remembering. Reyna glanced around, one hand resting near her sidearm. It's like walking into a tomb. No, I said quietly. It's a temple. And in a way, it was. The inner corridors were lined with figures, statues at first glance, but closer inspection revealed otherwise. Dozens of humans, perfectly preserved, frozen in stillness. Men and women in old Terran uniforms, armor we'd only seen in archived simulations. Their eyes were closed. Not dead. Not aged. Suspended. I checked one of the embedded neural ports behind a soldier's ear. The interface was still live. Stasis suspension, I muttered. Cognitive preservation systems. Their minds are stored in the city's AI. They're waiting, Reyna said, breathless. For us. Then the voice returned, calm, feminine, emotionless. Welcome, Terran Command. Bastion Theta acknowledges your presence. All systems remain operational, awaiting primary directive input. The voice echoed not just in our ears, but in our minds. Every implant on the ship synced to the Bastion's neural lattice without delay, like it had been waiting for us all along. The city wasn't just alive, it was aware. Watching. Listening. Judging. We followed the voice through winding corridors until we reached the central command chamber. A circular platform, elevated above a sphere of machinery and light. This was the heart of the Bastion, the core spine. The chamber lit as we entered. Stasis pods emerged from the floor in perfect alignment, each one humming softly. They began to open with quiet hisses of pressure release. Figures stepped out, slowly, deliberately. Each one taller than average, armored in the old Terran way. Their bodies bore the marks of genetic enhancement and neural symbiosis. Not post-humans. Not AIs. But guardians. The first to speak was Warden Kale. His eyes locked on mine, silver and piercing. You wear command well, he said. Have the others forgotten? They remember, I said. But not clearly. Not enough. He nodded solemnly. Then it is time. As more guardians awakened, the city began to shift. Power surged through its conduits. Defensive platforms in orbit reactivated. The bastion, dormant for centuries, was rejoining the network of Terran defenses hidden across the stars. And outside, something had noticed. From deep space, ships were coming. Non-Terran. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. But we weren't outnumbered. Not here. Not anymore. The stars outside the bastion flickered as if the universe itself was holding its breath. The alien fleets emerged one after another, dropping out of warp with the arrogance only ignorance could justify. Zaltari warbarges, Threxan shard cruisers, Drosari hivecraft, the very same species that once laughed at the stories that mocked the warnings about human space. They had come to test the line, to see if the myth could bleed. Reyna stood at the command console, her hands steady, her voice calm. 17 confirmed capital-class vessels. Mixed species. Forward formation suggests an assault pattern. They think we're a ruin, I said. A relic. They don't understand what they've stepped into. Warden Kale moved beside me, his armor glinting under the bastion's crimson glow. He didn't look surprised. It always begins like this. With curiosity. Then bravado. Then regret. The bastion's defense grid activated with silent efficiency. Orbital platforms pivoted. Shield arrays synchronized. Hunter drones emerged from the chasms of the outer hull like metallic shadows, their engines whisper quiet. No orders needed. This place had waited long enough. It remembered its purpose. We opened a wideband channel. This is Commander Elias Voss of the Terran Naval Sovereignty. You are trespassing within a locked combat zone protected under Exclusion Directive 001. You have 60 seconds to reverse course. There was no response. Of course not. To them, this was a test. An opportunity to expose our weakness and fracture the illusion. What they didn't understand was that humanity had stopped making illusions centuries ago. We didn't bluff. We buried. The Zaltari fired first, 3 beam lances, straight-line attacks designed for surgical strikes. They hit the bastion's shield wall and dispersed harmlessly, the energy folding back on itself. Seconds later, the Threxans launched a missile barrage, followed by a drone swarm from the Drosari. The space between us and them lit up like a battlefield from myth. Defensive integrity at 98%, Reyna said, almost bored. I gave the command. Engage. The bastion didn't just defend, it responded. It struck with the precision of a predator that knew every heartbeat of its prey. Rail cannons fired from behind the moons of the system, targeting engine signatures through subspace memory. Hunter drones moved in elegant spirals, weaving through enemy shields and detonating in controlled implosions. Entire formations disappeared in bursts of blue flame and vacuum rips. Kale didn't move. He didn't need to. This is only the first wave, he said. He was right. More ships shimmered into view on the edge of the system, reinforcements. More desperate now. Less coordinated. More afraid. They were learning. One by one, the ships began to retreat. Not in formation. Not with honor. But in panic. A full rout. Reyna looked at me, stunned. We didn't just win. We crippled them. No, I replied. We reminded them. Because now they knew. The Terran exclusion zone wasn't a myth. It was a warning carved into the stars. And we had just relit the fire that kept the galaxy trembling. The debris of broken fleets drifted silently through the void, glinting like dying stars in the bastion's orbital perimeter. Fires flickered in oxygen-leaking hulls. Shattered alien vessels, once symbols of pride and power, floated aimlessly, lifeless and broken. There were no salvage teams. No rescue beacons. This was Terran space now, and in Terran space, mercy was not the message. The comms were silent. Not a single surviving ship dared to hail us. Not with apologies. Not with threats. They just ran. And still, we didn't pursue. The bastion remained still, watching, unmoving, its guns locked back into place. That silence, absolute and suffocating, would echo through every diplomatic channel in the galaxy. This is going to change everything, Reyna said, her voice low. The Accord will panic. The border worlds will start arming. Some will want alliances. Some will want blood. They won't get either, I replied. They'll get the truth. We walked the interior of the bastion, through the war halls, past the memory walls, and into the sanctum of directive. The guardians followed silently, towering and still as statues. This place, once a monument to war's end, was now reborn into purpose. Every step echoed through steel laid centuries ago by hands long gone, guided by a single doctrine: humanity endures. Warden Kale met us in the sanctum, the chamber lit by soft pulses from the command lattice. Above us floated a holographic map of Terran space, now burning brighter, transmitting a signal across the void. They saw it, Kale said. The beacon protocol was triggered the moment we opened fire. Every hidden bastion across human space received the signal. I turned to him. How many are still active? 36 confirmed, he replied. More will awaken once contact is restored. They've been waiting for centuries, buried in silence. Just like this one. Then it begins, Reyna whispered. No, I corrected. It continues. We didn't start this. The galaxy made its choice centuries ago, when it tried to break us. When it tried to contain us, dissect us, fear us. After the Genesis War, we disappeared from their records. We let them believe we were gone. But we didn't vanish. We prepared. Kale stepped forward and keyed into the lattice. The map expanded, showing the spread of humanity's hidden architecture: weaponized moons, silent AI fleets, world forges orbiting dead stars. They'd been dormant for so long they'd become legend. Not anymore. What's your next move, Commander? Kale asked. I looked to the edge of the map, where enemy fleets still hovered just beyond our reach, hesitant to come closer. Nothing, I said. We don't move. We wait. Reyna raised an eyebrow. Wait for what? For them to decide, I said. To either learn from this, or force us to finish what we started long ago. Outside, the bastion stood quiet once more, its warning scent, its silence speaking louder than any weapon. And across the stars, they began to understand why no species enters human space. Because when they do, they don't come back. The stars above the bastion shifted slowly, revealing the soft glow of neighboring systems beyond Terran reach. It was a quiet moment, the kind that felt too calm, too still, like the universe was waiting for something to go wrong. And it did. The alert came without sound. Just a sudden flicker on the deep-range scanner, a ripple through the bastion's gravitational lattice, and then, presence. Something vast. Cold. Watching. The main display lit up with sensor overlays we didn't recognize. The bastion's AI paused, just long enough for us to realize that it was analyzing something unfamiliar. A brief silence, followed by the voice of Sentinel Red, more rigid than before. Unscheduled anomaly detected. Non-galactic signature. Classification: null origin. Object is observing. Trajectory: fixed. Propulsion: undetectable. Threat level: unquantified. The map shifted, and we saw it. It didn't come from any known region of space. Not from within the Council's domain, not from any species we had fought, feared, or studied. It was something entirely outside the framework of known existence, a massive construct, pitch black against the starlight, its edges fluid like it defied geometry. Not a ship. Not a station. Something else. It had arrived just past the system's fringe, beyond the farthest bastion satellite, and it was still. It didn't move. It didn't signal. It only watched. Warden Kale narrowed his eyes at the projection. This is what I feared. Something heard the signal. Something older. Reyna stepped up beside me, her voice quieter than usual. That thing, it's not responding to scans. Even the bastion can't lock onto it. The bastion's defenses were already shifting. Cannons rotated. Shield nodes adjusted. Hidden weapons platforms blinked to life. The bastion didn't need commands anymore. It felt the threat. I opened a wideband comm channel, even though part of me knew it was pointless. This is Commander Elias Voss of the Terran Naval Sovereignty. You are entering a restricted sector of space. Identify yourself or disengage immediately. Silence. Then, a wave. Not sound. Not light. A pulse of presence that passed through every neural link, every implant, every machine in the bastion. It didn't say words, it gave impressions. Images. A battlefield of stars gone dark. Galaxies cracked in half. And something, human-shaped, but wrong, walking through fire that never burned out. Reyna clutched her head, staggered by the pressure. It's not talking. It's remembering. And it wants us to feel it. I steadied myself, heart racing. It's not just observing us. Kale nodded slowly. It's judging us. And then it stopped. No attack. No retreat. Just stillness. Sentinel Red spoke again, this time softer. Entity has ceased interaction. Status: unknown. Recommendation: full system lockdown. Await further analysis. The construct remained in place, far from our reach, but near enough to matter. The galaxy had seen what we could do to the invaders. Now something else had seen it too. And it hadn't run. It had simply arrived. The presence didn't fade. It stayed there, at the edge of known space, beyond the bastion's reach, beyond our understanding. It didn't send ships. It didn't fire weapons. It simply hovered, motionless, silent, unblinking. A cosmic predator, waiting in the tall grass of the universe, staring at the only species arrogant enough to stare back. Every bastion in the network registered it. 36 Terran defense stations reported identical data. One object, identical mass signature, same impossible geometry, same gravitational distortions. Whatever it wasn't bound by conventional travel. It hadn't arrived. It had manifested. Reyna stood beside me in the bastion's command core, staring at the entity as if trying to make sense of something designed not to be understood. It's like it's not fully real. Like it exists in overlapping dimensions. It's real enough to watch us, I said. And that's enough for now. We didn't speak its name. We couldn't. It had none. Sentinel Red had dubbed it Null Origin Entity. I called it the Eye. Because that's what it felt like, a gaze pressed into our very atoms. Not curious. Not hostile. Just measuring. Kale joined us, his posture rigid. When the bastion systems were first built, he said, we received fragments of deep space warnings. Strange signals from beyond the galactic rim. Humanity had pushed too far, cracked through layers of physics we didn't understand. The architects of the bastions suspected we weren't alone, not in the way most civilizations mean. You think this is one of those things? Reyna asked. I think it's worse, Kale said. I think it's what comes after civilizations forget who built the stars. I didn't speak. I couldn't. I knew what this meant. We'd reawakened our might, sent a message to every empire and pirate kingdom that Terran space was not to be touched. We had buried fleets in fire. Broken coalitions. Resurrected legends. The galaxy had heard us loud and clear. But now, something else had heard us too. I opened the bastion's primary transmission channel. Every Terran node, every sleeper colony, every hidden shipyard, every war satellite, would hear me. This is Commander Elias Voss. Effective immediately, the bastion network is on indefinite alert. The exclusion protocol remains in full effect. Any unauthorized vessel within 5 parsecs of a Terran beacon will be terminated without warning. I paused, then looked out the viewport toward the distant black shape. And to whatever watches us from the dark, understand this. We are not the frightened species you remember. We are not fractured. We are not gone. We endured. We rebuilt. And if necessary, we will burn the stars again to protect what's ours. No reply came. The Eye remained still. But it knew now. The myths were true. The Terran silence wasn't weakness. It was a warning. And now the galaxy finally understood why no species enters human space. Because when the dark comes knocking, * we answer star.